Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. I've got something a bit different in store for today's video. When I started this channel a while back, I didn't expect to be doing reviews of products at all. In fact, I didn't expect to be doing any curated voiceover content at all, mostly just lightly edited videos of me learning the ropes online in DCS. But it's funny how life doesn't always take the course that you intended. So while it's slightly incongruous with the rest of the videos on this channel, I'm going to spend a bit of time reviewing a recent purchase, and that is the CubeSim MFD screens. First things first, I bought these screens. They haven't been sent to me for a review, and this is not monetized content. CubeSim nor anybody else in any way has rewarded me for putting this video together. This is a completely unbiased and uninfluenced review of these screens. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get to it. I've had a pair of Thrustmaster Cougar MFD button surrounds for a while, and since I bought them, I've always yearned to have a real screen behind them with the virtual in-sim MFD screens exported to the external displays. But I've never really taken the plunge, mostly because I don't know what screen to get, or I didn't know what screen to get, how to set it up, what resolution, how to export the displays, etc. Just the barriers to entry were really high. That was, of course, until I saw a post on a DCS Facebook group advertising some 3D printed, bespoke, designed, and built screens by a company called CubeSim. I decided to take the plunge, and man, I'm so glad that I did. From what I know, CubeSim is a small company, I think based out of Hong Kong or somewhere in China. And when I say small, I mean it. I'm pretty sure it's just one talented dude building these screens out of his living room. Buying the screens wasn't like a normal commercialized process. I ended up contacting him on Facebook using Messenger, agreeing a price, transferring the money via PayPal, and then he sent them. I'll be honest, the lack of a storefront worried me slightly, but PayPal has some pretty robust anti-fraud support, and so I looked past my slight insecurities about the ordering process and I pushed on. Each screen was $120 US plus shipping, which to the UK was another $60 US, bringing the total to $300 US for two screens, that's including shipping. I should also say that here in the UK, there was an import duty of just over £53 sterling as well. I placed my order, and literally the following day, I had a FedEx tracking number. The CubeSim dude literally went out the next day and sent them on, which is awesome. Shipping was pretty quick as well. They arrived 5 days after they were shipped, 6 days total from ordering. This is well ahead of even FedEx's shipping estimate. That's pretty awesome. 6 days is pretty awesome considering they were sent from Hong Kong or somewhere in China. There were no instructions for installation of the devices. You just have to kind of figure it out for yourself. All of that said, they're USB screens, and there's only two leads. One USB that goes to your PC, and one for power that goes to a plug socket. So it's not exactly hard. Plug them in, and Windows, at least my version of Windows, Windows 10, immediately recognized them. I guess here's my first complaint. The USB cables that CubeSim sends with the devices are really short. You can see here that my USB hub isn't far from where I have the screens, and the cables barely reached. In fact, the left one here, I needed to use a USB extension on. Now I'm planning on replacing the cables with some ones that I buy off Amazon, but I'd suggest that CubeSim could easily ship longer cables with minimal, if any, cost difference. One of the reasons I went for the CubeSim screens is that they are designed to fit right into the Thrustmaster Cougars, and fitting them into the housings was enormously easy. It's just 4 screws, and one at each corner. And that was it. As simple as that. The guy at CubeSim obviously has worked hard to make sure that hardware integration with the Cougars is dead simple, and that hard work has really paid off. Once they were plugged in and Windows recognized them, it was time to get them working with the sims that I use. Now, if you follow the channel, you know that I fly with two main combat flight sims, BMS 4.34, which is based on Falcon 4.0, and DCS World. Of the two, getting them to work in BMS is easier. It's a dawdle, really. You can either use the built-in MFD extractor that comes with the configuration application that's native in BMS 4.34, or you can use a third-party software package that hooks the MFDs in Sim and spits them out to an external screen. These are some examples of this include Falcon MFD Extractor or YAML. I use Falcon MFD Extractor as I found that the native MFD extractor was having a really negative impact on my frames in game. So I now use Falcon MFD Extractor as it's super simple to use. You just launch it, move the placeholders into your CubeSim screens, and launch the sim. The MFD extractor does everything else for you. I've downloaded but not really used YAML. I think it requires a bit more tinkering to get to work with 4.34 out of the box, so I didn't bother. I'll include links to both YAML and Falcon MFD Extractor in the description below. Now DCS, DCS is another matter. It's almost to the point where you need a degree in software engineering just to figure out how to export your MFDs in DCS. It's a bit complex. It's all done via some LUA files, some Lua files that DCS uses to figure out where to place the screens, etc. Now, I have a software background, and even I was a bit worried about this, but to be fair, the dude at CubeSim, he wrote the Lua scripts for me. He asked me what my screen resolution was and how I had my screens configured, and so all I had to do was drop the file that he emailed to me into the correct DCS folder and make sure my screens were arranged as he told me to. I then launched the sim and just selected the correct screen setup in-game. Once that was done, I was so pleased when I fired up my beloved Hornet, and the screens were working perfectly and have been ever since. One thing I did notice was that the text on the extracted MFDs was a bit too thick. The lines of the text were starting to kind of bleed into each other. Again, this is an easy fix. Just a quick edit of a Lua file is all you need. I'll include a link to the ED forums. There's a post there that shows you how to edit the thickness of the MFD fonts, and I'll put that link to the ED forums in the show notes below. Now, my complaint about getting these screens to work in DCS is that I run a 4-screen setup. My main gaming screen, I have a second utility screen, and I have the 2 MFDs. Now, I don't use the utility screen for DCS. I use it for Discord or WebGCI if I'm on Hoggit, airport kind of diagrams, approach plates, stuff like that. That monitor is on the left of my main screen, but the only way I could get the Lua file to work and extract the screens effectively in DCS was to tell Windows that that screen on my left was actually below my main screen. Now, this seems like a small gripe, right? But my piddly little brain screams at me when I have to roll my mouse cursor down to move to the left screen. That just my brain starts to hurt. That said, again, it's a small gripe, and I don't think any of this is CubeSim's issue. This is the way DCS has multi-monitor support implemented, I think. There is one thing I think that could be better with the screens, and that is the fact that they don't have an off switch. There is a switch on the right side of the screens here, but that switch controls the fans that are inbuilt in the housings, not the power to the screens themselves. Now, I like to leave my PC running overnight and just shut off my screens. So it would be nice to be able to turn these guys off without pulling the power cable out, which is what I'm currently doing. Again, a small gripe. Overall, these things are awesome. I'm really, really happy with my purchase. They are a quality product. They're easy to set up and use. They integrate perfectly with the Thrustmaster Cougars, and they're great value for money. The customer service of the dude at CubeSim was awesome. He's super helpful and very fast to respond, and shipping for these things was incredibly quick, especially considering they were coming from, as I said, the other side of the planet. I'd really recommend these screens to anybody who's looking to extract their in-game MFDs or DDIs and wants something that will integrate seamlessly with Thrustmaster Cougars. That's it for this video, folks. As always, stay happy and stay healthy. Look after each other. Samurai is RTB.